Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Erica Starke-Knight, sharing these what you need to know conversations as you consider a career in the media industry. And as you also know by now, I've been in the business for over 30 years and decided to invite some of my industry friends who are at the top of their game to stop by for some real talk about their professions. And I'm so excited today to have the topic presented on-camera talent and television hosting with my dear friend, Miss Deborah Holt Noel. Hi, Deb. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing, Erica?
Good. Thank you so much for joining Career Crash Course and taking time out of your schedule.
Definitely glad to do it.
So we are, as our viewers know, are talking about television hosting, on-camera talent, and I know since I'm a friend of yours and have worked with you, that encompasses so much. But before we dive in, tell us where you started, meaning where did you go to school and what made you decide, I believe this is the industry I want to pursue?
Well, I graduated from St. Augustine's College, which is now St. Augustine's University, after having attended Howard University for a couple of years and majored in communications and radio broadcasting at both universities. Mm-hmm. And after St. Augustine's, I attended the University of Maryland and pursued my Master of Arts degree in television production. So that's the educational background. And along the way, I had internships and a job opportunity at an organization that produced sewing machine instructional videos for sewing machine mechanics. And that's kind of how I got here by way of higher education.
Yes, education is always the path, right, to greater things.
Yes,
you
it
are,
is. Yes,
for the students watching who don't know, you are the incredible host of PBS-NC's North Carolina Weekend and Black Issues Forum, two very long-running series at PBS-NC.
That's right.
But I imagine there was certainly a path to where you are now that did not always include you being on camera. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I started my position here at UNCT. Well, we just recently rebranded, so forgive me.
Right. Yeah.
The name of our organization is PBS North Carolina. And when I started at the organization, it was UNC TV. And I started out as a producer. And I was so excited to be kind of behind the scenes and have that leadership and have that authority as a producer, because I wanted to create content. And that's what we call it these days. Back then, we weren't saying create content. We were saying producing stories, producing news or whatever. And so to actually get a job where I got to do exactly what I had been training to do was really a blessing. I wasn't anticipating being on camera at the time, but circumstances and opportunity presented themselves. So I was able to try my leg at on camera, and it worked. And now I'm hosting two shows at PBS North Carolina. One is, like you said, North Carolina Weekend, and the other one is Black Issues Forum. And they're two very different kinds of programs. One is travel and leisure. So I am myself, but I present a different facet of myself than what you might see on Black Issues Forum, which is a public affairs program. It's more information-based, even though it's still educational. So it's been interesting getting to work on both programs and making sure that I remain authentic and appealing to both audiences.
Yes. Well, I want to back up to what you said, because I know there's a really good story there. You did not start on camera. You were trained as a producer, you were writing, etc. So in the condensed version, tell us that story of how you ended up trying your hand, or the opportunity, I should say, presented itself, or you gave yourself, because I know the story, the opportunity to try your hand.
Yes, yes, and thank you for the clue, because I'm like, what? No, I know what you're talking about. So when I was at UNC TV, I'm the producer, and we're responsible for getting the content out, right? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a story about this place called early childhood learning academy or something like that. And I went out with a producer, not a producer, but a videographer who later became a really great friend and ally. We're in the field, we're doing the story, and I'm thinking, it needs a little introduction or it needs something. And so I decided to do what we call a stand-up in the field and introduce the story, do a little walk and talk, as they say. And nobody told me to go do that. I didn't necessarily have permission to do it. And I figured, I'm going to go ahead and record it. Worst case scenario, I hate it and it ends up on the cutting room floor. Or I put it on TV and somebody comes and says, Deborah, why did you do that? Don't ever do that again. And so I took the chance and nobody said that. So I was like, do that again. And I did. And so that's how I got on camera. And later on at PBS NC, there were always these opportunities to do what we call pitching. And that means essentially inviting our viewers to make a contribution based on a special thank you gift that we might offer. And so I tried out for pitching during our fundraising campaign, and they said, sure, you're good enough. You can go ahead and do that. And they put me on in the mornings. And then I did that and I was doing well, apparently. And one evening, somebody got sick and there was a big talent coming in that evening. And they called me up and said, Deborah, can you do it? And of course I said, yes. So I took it with great seriousness. And I even remember what I wore, but I went in and I was told to memorize some lines and I better get it right the first time.
Oh, my. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was. But, I apparently measured up and I got it done. And that was one of the largest fundraising success stories at the network at the time. And they just continued to run the story. And so I became attached to that, because I had done so well with being around this other national talent and so forth. And that was the launch. And so the next time that opportunity came up and there was big talent coming in, they're like, Deborah, maybe she can handle it. And they continued. So it grew. And that's how I became a regular presence on air. And that's also how I got on air. And I'll tell you one more story. So the show North Carolina Weekend came up, which is a brand new show at UNC TV at the time, PBS North Carolina. And everybody was making contributions about what the content of this show would be. There were stories about museums and stories about restaurants and stories about recreational destinations. And I remember talking to the producer about it. And at the time I was single and I was thinking to myself, this is all great, but who's talking about what goes on after 5 o'clock around here? I had just moved from Maryland and Washington, DC area. And I was thinking to myself, that's all well and good, but people like to do things after the date. You go out someplace at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Well, now we want to go someplace afterward. And so the producer said, fine, go ahead and do it. And I got so nervous and hot in the face. And I thought to myself, now you've done it. Now you're going to have to do something really spectacular because the expectation is like you opened your big mouth. And anyway, I was so nervous. And I decided to do a place called Charlie Goodnight's, which was a comedy club.
Oh,
and you remember Charlie Goodnight's? And I remember what I wore. I had this bad, like plum colored leather blazer. And I put that on. And I went out with one of my very good friends, now ex-husband, who was a videographer. He went out and I had an idea for what I wanted to do. And honestly, I wasn't trying to be large. I didn't think that I had some kind of magic idea. I really, really didn't. I was just hoping that whatever I put together would be good enough. And so we recorded with the backdrop of Raleigh behind me. Was that the first story? Yeah, it was Charlie Goodnight's. And, we did it and I showed it to the producer and he was like, okay, when are you going to do your next one? So I thought, okay, that was acceptable. Keep it going. And I launched the series After Dark, with Deborah Holt Noel on North Carolina Weekend.
That is fantastic, Deb. As long as I've known you, I did not know. I knew you did that series. I didn't know that was your idea and you launched it.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Fabulous.
I did.
So you trained, I want to go back a little because, you've been so successful with taking initiative, and I love that piece that I hope students don't miss. You didn't wait for an opportunity to present itself. You created your own opportunities. And when there's a need for some sort of content, or bright ideas, if you pitch it, be ready to, show and prove, if you will. And you did.
That's right. And I just want to say to any students out there, if you don't think that you're that person, especially in this environment where you see lots of YouTubers and people with these great ideas and doing her thing and doing his thing, and, he's got a side hustle and she's innovative, honestly, I'd never considered myself innovative or having a special motivation or initiative or anything. I was just hoping to be a part of things. And so, when the pressure came, I think that that's possibly when I do my better work. You kind of hate the pressure in some ways because the pressure is painful, but the pressure, you've heard the analogy before, just like you take a coal and add that pressure to it. Is it coal or is it carbon? And create that diamond out of it.
Yes.
That's how I work, apparently. I wish I could get things done easy, but I need pressure.
Well, you are so calm and engaging and lovely on camera. You look like a natural, like you've been doing it for years, which you have been doing it for years. But even earlier in your career, you kept getting the go ahead. So clearly you were doing something right. How did you learn to get that on camera presence? Because again, you trained as a producer and writing in behind the scenes.
Well, I'll tell you, I started off in radio, which is no visual presence. It's just your voice. And I started off at WAUG AM 750, which was the college radio station at St. Augustine's College. And when I transferred to St. Aug, transferring from Howard University, the radio station was just starting. Now, anybody who knows anything about Howard University knows what an outstanding communications program they have. And there I was a little fish in a big pond. And I just knew what the layout was. There were all these really smart, talented, attractive young women who wanted to do television news. And so I was swimming in the pond with them. And if you wanted to get an internship at WHUR,
oh yeah,
slim pickings.
You had to bring it.
You had to bring it. And so I knew that. And I'm going to do everything I can. But so having that mentality with me, I came to St. Aug and I learned they don't have a television station, but they have radio. And so when I found out that they had a radio station and that they were accepting applications for interns, I went banging on the door. I showed up in, a suit or whatever, and I took it seriously. And I was just hoping that they would accept me as an intern. And I took that application seriously. Little did I know, I think I was the only person who applied. And so, so they gave me the internship and I was elated.
Even better, no competition.
Hey, but probably it was the attitude that I had coming in, like, y'all just might not do this. I so want this. And if you'll only give me an opportunity to be that intern, be that student, you ain't got to pay me nothing. And so I went in there with that attitude, and I was intending to work hard. The person who was in position there, Jay Holloway, was the general manager. I worked together with him. He later became my mentor. Thomas Hill was not a DJ, but a voice talent there. And he also, did other production. He was kind of a mentor to me. He had this incredible booming voice. Everybody loved Thomas Hill. And there was Eric Curry, who is still in this area. He was the news director. And he was just, I don't know if he's going to appreciate me saying this, but he was a cut up. We would be in there just having a good time. Eric was a cut up, and he knew news, and he just loved to get into news and do the reports and everything like that. And later on, and someone's going to hate that I missed their name, Charles Harrison was the sales manager there. And so that team of really young men who were leading this, Black-owned radio station at this HBCU, they were quite a force. And then I got to come in there and be the very first intern, do my very best. So my beginnings were in radio, and it was Jay who gave me my first opportunity to do anything on the air. And he said, you can, and it was after a big disaster, quite frankly. I was supposed to record the president's not commencement, but there's a big convocation at the beginning of the
university
year.
President. I thought you meant the president of the United States.
No.
I was like,
no. President of the university. I was supposed to record it. And another one of my mentors who's passed away is Oscar Smith. I was supposed to record it, and I was flustered about the technology, and I didn't record it because I pressed the wrong buttons. And I knew that was the end of my life in the industry. And I was so upset. And Jay calls me into the office a couple days later and says, you're here to learn. And this is a mistake, and here's some things. He says, something else I wanted to ask you is if you'd be interested in recording one of the commercials that's going to go on the air. And I was like, after my big screw up, you're rewarding me with the opportunity to put my voice over the air?
Second chance.
I just was like, I was blown away.
What an incredible mentor.
But I mean, I was just like, I don't deserve this at all. And he gave me the chance, and I did. And so that was my first experience on air. And I remember Thomas Hill, back to your question about how did you train for this? One of the things that he used to tell me from the beginning was, Deborah, you've got a raw talent. You need to develop that. But that's a special gift. So together with that special gift, I continue to practice my craft and try to develop my craft. And until I've, evolved into the on-air talent that I am today.
Well, what a great story. And you did deserve it. And that is just the epitome of a mentor, to not tear you down for your mistakes.
To have that grace and
give you another opportunity to take you out of that space so you don't spiral down into my life is over. I'm done in this business.
And I think it's given me compassion as in my current position. So, when you're a leader and you have some authority or supervisory authority, you have the opportunity to extend some grace. And sometimes you're extending grace, and sometimes you're allowing excuses
to be taken advantage of. Yeah. Been there.
But it's important that people be provided an opportunity to learn. And that taught me a lot about what the purpose of the student being there is. Want to rely on you as a student. It's great when we can. You have a responsibility. When things go awry, make sure that you're either learning from the experience. You can certainly defend yourself, but you are at the mercy of whoever's making the decisions around there and the level of responsibility that's been given to you, as far as making mistakes and growing from them.
Well said. And I do want to also make note for all the students out there listening to this story. I'm sure what also helped you get that second chance right away is your tenacity and your commitment and your professionalism and your eagerness to want to learn and do well. That is so transparent, in a person. So when you go to get an internship and you're not producing stories right away, or you're not going out and interviewing folks, and you're, maybe making copies of scripts or what have you, so you don't take it seriously, or you come in dressed like you would go to class, or go to the gym, you're supposed to emulate what you see yourself becoming. And so I'm sure all of that played a part in that grace.
That's absolutely true. You said it all, Erica. You take your opportunities seriously and understand that people, they're going to provide a certain degree of grace. But people do remember how you behave
and how you show up.
And how you show up and when you show up.
Yes.
I don't, act like a diva unnecessarily. Sometimes you do have to act like a diva, though. You really do have to be a diva.
Right. If somebody takes you there. But to your point, being on camera,
it's not just all fun and games.
That's the big misconception, that being on camera is all fun and games.
Right. It's not just one big, woohoo, we're just going to go and have fun. And I don't know what I'm going to say. And I don't have a script and I don't have a direction and I don't have a purpose and a plan. That is, maybe that takes, maybe that's the talent of someone out there who they don't need a script. They don't need direction, blah, blah, blah. They're just like, I'm gonna just go off the cuff. Let's do this. Let's do that. That to me is a real special person. Most people I know need a script. They need, if not a script, an outline of bullet points. Here's what you're going to be, you've got 30 seconds to deliver these points. Deliver these 4 points in 30 seconds, start it off right, end it off right, and then be out. Otherwise, you're, hello, let me take it again. No, let me take it again. Let me do it. And then you're wasting time in the field. And time is money.
So talk about the importance of, being involved in that process, even without even having, the diva part of it.
Sure. You want to, at minimum, read your script. There might be that situation where you're on the news desk and there's breaking news and you have to go off either on the top of your head or you maybe have to, rip and read. That's for people who are seasoned at reading, but more times than not, more often than not, you have some time before the show or before whatever it is you're going to do to rehearse yourself. So it's sort of like learning, if you just listen to something, you're going to retain it in a certain way and to a certain degree. But if you copy something, your retention is going to be a little bit better.
Copy means write it.
Right. If you had to write it, if you had to author it, then your retention is even stronger. And then if you flub or something, you're more likely to catch yourself because it's like, wait a minute. Now, I've written things that I'm like, what? When I'm reading it in the prompter, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But you want to be able to recognize what you're saying. And the way to do that is to write it yourself. Some people, they write your content for you. So then your responsibility is to certainly go in and read through it, not just with your eyes, but with your mouth. So read it out loud. If you ever go into a theater or any place where you hear, where actors are gathering, they're saying their lines out loud over and over and over and over out loud. That's the way they rehearse. You don't rehearse by continuing to read silently to yourself. You have to say it out loud so that you know the rhythm of words.
Yes.
Because whose name was that I had to say the other day? I won't say it because I might get it wrong. But people, we have a very diverse nation of people who we work with and who we get to tell stories about. And you want to get people's name right, and you want to say things right. So say it out loud. Read your script out loud.
Good point. 2 more questions. And before we leave that, I want to say, because I've certainly had that experience as well. When you read it, sometimes it's so much easier to comprehend, and you don't even realize until you say it out loud that it might be a tongue twister. you know, that there's 3 P words all together, or all the
Right.
syllables, you get tongue tied. But when you
Right.
read it, you don't recognize it. But and I've changed scripts like that on the fly.
Yes.
Just
It's like,
because.
that doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
It doesn't,
And
I
it
can't.
won't come out right. It just won't come out right. I'm like, just change it. So good
And then
point.
there are people who write your stuff and it's like, they want you to say it just like that. Then you got to figure out how to say it just like that.
So what would you have given me some advice before too, how for the students who are watching, how do they practice and get better at this? You've told me before to
Look in the mirror.
Yes.
Take your script, stand in front of the mirror. And you know what's lucky for you all these days is this thing. Blink, record yourself, watch it back, and make note of the things that you like, and make note of the things that make you cringe, and then figure out how to fix the cringeworthy stuff.
Nice. Okay, last question. You've been in the industry for a long time, accomplished some great things. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you're in college, considering your career path? Or maybe you would have done everything the same.
What I know now is that there are a lot of people around you who don't know anything more than you do. So
say that again, sister.
Trust yourself. Give yourself credit. Go do your work. Go do the work to learn, to educate yourself, to develop your skills, and then take a few chances. Trust yourself. Speak up. Don't assume that this person over here knows so much more than you. If you're dealing with a seasoned producer, sure, they probably have some experience that will benefit them in their work, and will be advice that you can grow from. But the world that we're producing in today is very different than the world we were producing in 20, 30 years ago. So while I respect seasoned producers, and I think it's important to respect people who have experience and knowledge, because technology is changing environments so rapidly today, there are things that you absolutely can contribute and are valuable for. And the important way to treat that or regard what you have to offer is that this is a mutually educational learning environment. Mm-hmm. You've got something to learn from them, and they have something that they can learn from you. And we all just need to be respectful of each other.
Well said. Well said. Thank you for dropping those incredible nuggets.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have been here. Thank you for inviting me and for letting me be a part of all your students' lives. Y'all, I hope that you just embrace life and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. Have some fun with technology. Have fun with your friends. Be responsible with the content that you're putting out there, because
boom, say that again. Woo, hold on. I'm so glad we didn't end before saying that.
It will surface again. It will surface again.
If you ever, right, have any desire to be on camera as a professional, be mindful of what you're putting out there right now on social media.
Be mindful. And it's not just pictures, it's words. Be careful about what you like, what you are following, who you're following, and your comments out there, because just be mindful about it. There are things that I've said in my past, and I'm very conservative. I'm like, I can't believe I said that.
Have you ever been called on anything, Deb? No. I know people who have. We see it in the news all the time.
Yeah, you just have to be, because of a variety of reasons. I'm not going to go, open up a new thing, but I know that this generation, your generation, young folks, is a very free, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm gonna behave with, the freedom that I'm allowed, and this is who I am, and you can't judge me. I get all of that. The folks who are in position to provide you some opportunities right now might be from a different generation.
Speak
and
it.
may not appreciate all your little freedom and all. So
Not preaching, we're just having real talk.
yeah, I'm just saying, I have certain things to learn from you all, but right now, the people who are providing those opportunities to you, be mindful of where they're coming from. Here's a great hint. Somebody told me one time, when you show up at a workplace, overdo it. Wear the suit. Unless you know that you're going to interview at Google and you've seen people going in and out with flip-flops, that's still not the time to go in with flip-flops. Nobody respects that, quite frankly. You got to put your suit on the first day. After you get your lay of the land, it's like, oh, I see people wear flip-flops around here. I'm gonna break out my flip-flops. But until then, wear your suit to the interview, or just at least be modest, is what I would say.
Yes.
Be yourself. Wear your hair the way that you wear your hair. Be you, but and understand that we're still transitioning as a society. So people are receiving that in a certain way. You're communicating something with your style and with your hair. And
you're representing that company, right? So while you're in learning mode and trying to gain the skills and the connections and the opportunities, when in Rome, right?
When in Rome, and we're not going to get into the big fat haircut conversation.
But when you have your own, then you can do and look and present yourself as you please, but understand the context, right?
Girl, I feel a podcast coming on, because I'll bet there's some students out there that are like, wait, no, hold up, player.
We're going to do that. To come later.
Be continued.
To be continued. Thank you, Deb. Love you so much. We hope you've enjoyed everything that you've heard and learned. And until next time, be well.